So we are on for our Tour de Vic hour. We are approximately 4 weeks away from the actual event. So doing some more strength work, hill work, a lot of quick gear changing here to represent what we're going to be facing on the Tour de Vic route. Or if you're joining us and not planning to do the route, excellent training for undulating hills, some fast pickups. Let's settle in here, a couple minutes at our 30%, 3 out of 10 range. That's about 80 to 110 watts for most of us, 90 to 105 RPMs. We're only here for a short time before we move into a little bit more load. So another minute before we move up to our 60% and some accelerations. All right, settling in. Quick time to check in with yourself. Make sure you're nice and loose on your bars. Giving your elbows a little wiggle. Shoulders a little wiggle. Gentle, gentle engagement in your power center. Making sure your feet are turning some circles, nice and flat through the bottom of the pedal stroke. And let's find your 60% right now. Still at your preferred cadence, 90 to 100 RPM, 60%. Right into this, feels a lot stiffer. At this point of the hour, this will feel like recovery later on. So settling in here. We are just going to do some accelerations from this point at the 1 minute mark, and then settling back, and then reducing our RPMs, so making a gear change to make sure we're still at that 60%. Nice and steady on the pedals. We're just warming up here. And accelerate 5 to 10 RPM. Just bring up that cadence a little bit. We're just here for 30 seconds. Little lift. Up over 100 for sure, maybe 110. Let the watts go. They'll be up too. And settling back down, 90 RPM, 60%. Or your preferred cadence. Maybe you're a bit over 90. And in 10 seconds, we are slowing the leg speed down to 80, bringing the gear back up to 60%. In 3, 2, 1. Slow the legs down to 80, bring the gear back into 60%. We're here for a minute. So here we are, right off the start, warming up still, a little bit of an incline. Still at this all day pace wattage output. Trying to keep our heart rate settled as we are just at the beginning. Same format as the last set. We'll do some accelerations and then back it off. Nice and steady. bring up the RPM, 5 to 10. We're just here for 30 seconds. So now you're looking at 85 through 90 RPM, letting the watts rise as well. Just a little acceleration here. This could be a slight flattening of the hill or the group just picking up the pace. And backing it back to your 60%, 80 RPM. And in 5 seconds, slowing the legs down to 70 RPM. 3, 2, 1. Bring that cadence down to 70. Gear back into 60%. You're adding gear. Our hill just got a little steeper right here at the beginning. Got a little squeal going on my wheel here. Sorry about that. And bringing up the RPMs by 5 to 10 for 30 seconds. Up to 80-ish, 75 to 80. Just that little bit of a lift. The magic of WD-40 comes to the rescue. Wow, that made my gears a lot easier. And settling back to your 60%, that's 70 RPM. And we're going to stay at this 70 RPM for another sort of minute and a half or so. Do a little extra work down here. We're going to do some standing and sitting. And up off the saddle, 15 seconds. We're going to alternate standing and seated, increasing from 15 through to 45 seconds. And back to seated. 15 seconds. Trying to maintain that 60% and 70 RPM at this point. And standing, 20 seconds. Looking up the road. Again, just waking up the backside of your legs. And back to seated, 20 seconds. And up off the saddle, 30 seconds. Paying attention to what your pedals and your feet are doing here, avoiding the clunking. Keeping a nice relaxed upper body here. You don't want to be gripping the handlebars too tightly. And back to seated, 30 seconds. We want to be able to direct the power right down through the pedals when we're standing. So we don't want to be leaning on our handlebars. Otherwise, we've got a lot of power going down there too. And up off the saddle, 45 seconds. Final time through. Just nice and steady on the pedals here. Still got to bend in your elbows. Comfortably looking up the road. You might feel that saddle sort of tapping in on your backside or upper legs. That's good. It means you're in the right position. Staying tall. And back to seated. Recapturing that 70 RPM, 60%. So we're here for a minute and a half. We'll ease off the gear in 30 seconds before we get to the next portion of our warm-up. So just thinking about the start of any big event, often there's a lot of sort of back and forth, stopping, starting, more high intensity, low intensity as the group settles itself out before we get a chance to really ride our own race, our own ride. And backing off the gear. 1 minute easy. You can bring your cadence back up, 90 to 100. Nice, easy gear. Second part of the warm-up is a cadence ramp starting from 50%. So let's start finding that 50% right now in that 90 to 100 RPM range, if you're not there already. Keep it at that 50%. Don't overshoot the watts, because as we go up in our cadences, this will get harder. We're spending 3.5 minutes moving up from 100 to 115 RPMs and back down. Beginning at 100 now. So you're at 50%, 100 RPM. 30 seconds at each stage. Settle in. This is a nice, efficient cadence at this percentage output. And then we'll spend some time overreaching. And moving up to 105. Just a little lift of your pedal speed. Watts will come up just a little bit here. If you're on a smart trainer where you have to actually move your watts accordingly, bring them up by sort of 5-ish watts with each move up of the RPMs. And up to 110. Another little lift here. Still nice and steady on the pedals. For most of us, this is getting to the top end of where we might find our cadence when we're out on the road occasionally, unless you're doing a really fast turnover on a descent. Getting comfortable here. Sometimes you have to punch it up a little bit. And moving up to 115. Nice and crisp here. Watts are probably up in your 60+% range now. That's perfect. Here, just a little bit longer. We're at the top of the ramp, so we're here a little bit longer than the 30 seconds. Come on, stay on it. And back to 110. Just easing off a tiny bit, trying not to drop too much below that. Quick glance down at your computer, looking back up, feeling what that feels like. Comfortably uncomfortable. And back to 105. Practice easing off just enough. Sometimes those nuances of a few RPMs make all the difference in hanging on. Especially if you're trying to stay with a group, a peloton, your posse. Make life easier for you. And back to 100. Now you can adjust the gear back to 50% if it's hanging out a little higher. "45 more seconds here. Stay with it. 100 RPM. It's a great place to be when you're getting some recovery throughout the long ride. Helps flush your legs a little bit before we tackle the hills. And you can back it right off. We have a nice 4 minutes easy here. We're trying to keep it in that 30 to 40% range. After a couple minutes, you can go back up to 50 if you like. I'll call that out. We're just getting a little recovery here. And we'll have a look at the workout. So what we've got today are a series of undulating hills. Our first set is 4 by 2 minutes with 2 minutes easy in between each. So picture 4 increasingly steep rollers with a little descent on the backside, starting at your 85% watts, 8.5 out of 10 at 90 RPM. So this is a pretty crisp climb. Then we back it off for 2 minutes. And then we go 85% plus 10 to 20 watts at 80 RPM. So it's got a little steeper. 2 minutes off again. 85% plus 10 to 20 at 70 RPM. 2 minutes off. 85% plus 20 to 30 watts at 60 RPM. This one's a grind. And then we have a 4-minute recovery before we move into the next part of the main sets here. So we have 2 more minutes to go. If you're quite recovered in that 30 to 40% range, feel free to move up to 50% with a nice high cadence up around 100. Getting a little hydration in, Making sure you've got your fans on, windows open, whatever you need. We do know that Victoria is apt to be pretty windy, so a fan on high is a good thing. In fact, the wind itself is like climbing a hill sometimes. You can be on a flat or a descent, and that wind, it's a hard go. Just over a minute to go. So thinking about where your 85% is, settling in at that 90 RPM. We've had a good 22 minutes to leave the Parliament buildings and head out on the ride. Now the work begins. So finding that 90 RPM, if you're not at your 50% yet, bring that in. We can see that first hill coming up. In preparation, we'll move the gear up a little bit here, maybe up to your 60%. We got 15 seconds to go. Bring in a bit more gear. Bring in a bit more gear. Road is beginning to tilt. We're on in 5, 3, 2, 1. 85%, 90 RPM, 2 minutes. You take the first 15 seconds or so, settle into that gear. Once you're there, you're looking up the road. You're in a group riding situation. You can't afford to be staring down. Not for too long. That's 30 seconds in already. These first hills are often the hardest. Again, thinking about that pedal stroke. You really want it smooth up and over the top, pulling through the bottom, feeling that heel, the back of your shoe, coming up the back side, especially as you're climbing. Halfway through, and feel free to stand and get on top of the gear at any point, just being mindful of throwing your bike forward and back. We can practice that stability on our bikes in the studio, at home, but applying it when you're out on the hill, super important. 30 more seconds. Stay with it. Coming up to the crest of this one, then we can roll right over the top, pick up our leg speed. We want to take the gear right off, get that leg speed up to 100 or so. In 3, 2, 1. Back it off, get that leg speed up. We're staying with our group. It's at this point where you could actually lose your group. You might be a great climber, stay with them there, but if they're efficient at coming over the top, tucking in, getting that fast cadence going down, that's where you could lose them. So stay with. Minute and a half more. We're in a nice athletic position now. Still have that bend in the elbows. Looking up the road. A lot of things can happen fast when we're cruising downhill. So we just want to be aware. All right, we've got 50 seconds to go. before our next climb, which is a little bit steeper. So let's start slowing the leg speed down towards 80 now, bringing in some gear, up to 50% or so. Let's get ready. You don't want to hit the bottom of that hill and suddenly try to slam on a whole bunch of gear. Legs at 80. Remember, we're going for 85% plus 10 to 20 watts. We're on in 10 seconds. Start bringing in the rest of that gear. And 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Depending on how you're feeling, you might be at 85 plus 10. I'll call out the first minute. You could add that bit of extra gear or stand on the top. Trying to keep a nice steady upper body. Hands are on the hoods or up on the top of the bars, depending on your comfort level. Remembering to breathe. Focus on that. It'll help distract. And that's our first minute. If you want to bring a few more watts in, stand getting on top. Just holding as steady as you can. Thinking about those feet. Right through the bottom, up the back. We're really using our hamstrings, our hip flexors here. Come on, stay with it. We're almost there. Hill number 2. Oh yeah, it's a good one. We get to roll over the top in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Back it off. 100 RPM. 30 to 40%. Get those legs turning over. Tuck in with that group. Taking advantage of that draft. And 30 seconds in. Check in with your breathing here. Trying to get a little recovery, so trying to monitor that. Stay with it. This is the fun part. You know the hills are coming, but right here, right in this moment, we are cruising. Just under a minute to go. That next hill looms in front. Adding a few percentage grade, just a little bit steeper. Start slowing the legs down towards 70 RPM, bringing in a bit more gear, finding around 50% here as you slow your legs down. Bringing in a bit more gear, 15 seconds. We're looking for 85% plus 10 to 20 again. That's 70 RPM. Bringing in the rest of the gear in 3, 2, 1. And we're off. Staying on this hill. Trying to find that extra 20 watts here. over and above your 85. For some, that is in and around your MAP. For others, maybe more like your 90-ish%, 95. And hold steady. Less than a minute and a half to go. And coming up to our first minute. If you're not plus 20 watts, add that now if you can. You can stand to get on top of that one, about 5 seconds or so. And come on back down, settle in. Really think about that pull up the back. Going up and over the top will take care of itself at this point. If you're focusing on the back side, you're right up and over the top and down. Come on, stay with it. 20 seconds to go. We're almost at the crest of this one. And 3, 2, 1, backing it off. 2 minutes. Let's get there. 100-ish RPM. Nice easy gear. Get those legs moving. We're 15 seconds in. You can feel your heart beating between your ears. You're earning this little recovery here. And you're training so that you can take these hills one after the other after the other. This is quite different than a long sustained climb where we get into some kind of a mode where we're just turning the pedals over for long periods of time. This is really a lot of punchy hills, trying to get a bit of recovery, punching back. Just under a minute to go for our final hill. This is the steepest. And begin slowing the legs down to 60 RPM. Big drop from where we are now. Bringing in some gear to your 50% range. "20 seconds to go. Bring in a bit more gear. Slow those legs down a bit more. I want to see 60 on all of you. We've got 5 seconds. Bring in the rest of the gear. 85% plus 20 to 30 watts. We are on a steep little hill. You've got this. Bring on that gear. This is your grind. We're 20 seconds in. Everyone should have found that place. Now we're just gonna hold on, or perhaps even get on top of that a bit more halfway through. Come on. Nice slow legs here. We're doing everything we can to make it up this one. Got a good steep grade. And that's 1 minute. If you need to find a few more watts, do it now. Come on, challenge yourself here. A lot of us prefer those long, steady climbs. These ones are hard. More seconds. Hang on. You got this. Still trying to keep light on those bars. We need every ounce of power down our big muscles in our legs. And 3, 2, 1. Back right off. We have 4-minute recovery. Whew. You will definitely encounter this on the Tour de Vic, as well as other big rides, big fondos. We can train it outside by finding short, steep hills, roads in our neighborhoods. Go up for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, come back down, and repeat. You can do that sort of 4 or 5 times, and that's actually quite an efficient workout if you only have a short amount of time during the day to get out, and you want to maximize your training efficiency. 3 more minutes. Once your heart rate's slowed down a little bit, get some hydration in. It's not easy to eat or drink when you're climbing, and in an event like this one, you really don't have to. There's enough opportunity where you're not climbing to get in that nutrition. But do remember to do that. These punchy hills can really take your glycogen stores out fast. And if you're doing a longer distance and you're out there for 4, 5, 6 hours, you have to manage that. 2 more minutes. Then we're into our final piece here. Well, it's actually not our final piece. It's a stage of our final piece where we have a whole lot of things going on. We are playing around with duration, beginning at 4 minutes at your 75% at 80 RPM, or in and around your preferred climbing RPM. For many that is around 80, might be 75, might be 85. Then we move right to 2 minutes at 50%. Then a quick 30 seconds of a gear change up to 75%. Then 2.5 minutes at 75%, building up to 80, back to that 80 RPM. And then a minute 15, again adding gear up to 85%, building that RPM. Then we have an awesome false flat where we just pick up the leg speed, high gear, followed by 2 minutes back to our 60%, where we have a little breather, and then our final MAP attacks. There's a lot going on. So enjoy that first 4 minutes where you can really settle in, tell yourself some stories, give yourself some encouragement. Whether or not you're with a group or you've been dropped and you find yourself by yourself, it's all good. We're out on our bikes. So let's start to prepare. About 1 minute to go. Start slowing the leg speed down to 80, bringing the gear up to 50%. Slowing those legs down. 30 seconds to go. You should be in and around your 80 RPMs right now, 50-ish%. Start bringing in a bit more gear, finding 60%, that is. We're on in 15 at 75%. That's your 7.5 out of 10. Somewhere 20 to 30-ish watts above your 60. In 3, 2, 1. Bring in the rest of that gear. We're on a steady climb here. A 4-minute climb in the Tour de Vic is a fairly long climb. So finding that comfortable climbing cadence, whatever that is for you, let's say a range between 75 and 85 RPMs, and holding steady. That's it. This should now be settling in. We're 45 seconds in. Just turning the pedals nice and steady. If you've got a mantra, this is your time. It could be really simple, like just keep spinning, just keep spinning. Whatever you do, there's no negative talk here. You're settled in, you've been training for this, it's a comfortable climb. Scenery is gorgeous. And settling your breath down. 2 more minutes to go. Maybe you have a chance to take a couple of nose breaths in. Give yourself that chance to settle down your nervous system. We still have more distance to cover, but if we can get a little breather while climbing, it's perfect. You're setting yourself up well. Just over a minute to go. Remember, we're trying to hold our upper bodies quite steady. Any side-to-side rocking, especially at this kind of a pace, is again taking up valuable energy. There's always going to be a little bit of movement, but if you can manage that, you'll be that much more efficient. Checking in with shoulders. This is where we can get a sore neck. So just make sure you're still kind of relaxed up here. A couple shoulder circles. 30 seconds to go. Then we have a little bit of a false flat. Could do this all day, right? And 3, 2, 1. Backing the gear to your 50% and 100 RPM. So don't take too much gear off. Bring up the leg speed. Bring in the gear. If you fall below your 50%, get that back quick. It's amazing how fast we can lose our momentum if we let the watts go down too far. Minute and a half more here. This is just a beautiful section of road. Lots of little burbles along the way. Some short, some a bit longer. We're just preparing for whatever's coming up the road and reacting accordingly. One more minute. This might be a time when you grab some fuel. When you've got this little bit of a break, especially because we know what's coming up the road, and it's quite a bit of work for the next 3.5, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And in 30 seconds, we are going to stay here at 100 RPM. Bring in a bit more gear to your 75%. Letting that RPM stay around 100, 90 to 100. Just a bit of lift in the road. Groups picking up the pace, and we are staying with them. In 3, 2, 1. 75% watts. Stay where you are with your RPMs. Around 100. We've got a good speed going here. And the hill just got steeper. Slow the legs down to 80 RPM. Bring the gear back into 75. Slowing the legs, bringing in the gear. We're 2.5 minutes here now. It's a quick change. Sometimes it's hard to find that. So here we are, 30 seconds in. 75%, 80 RPM. As we get closer to the end of this last 2 minutes here, we'll start moving up our watts. But right now, we're just holding steady. Again, remembering that upper body stays relaxed. Perhaps a slight engagement in your power center, your core, just to make sure your lower back is stable and you can really have that energy flow through your glutes and quads and hamstrings, calves. 1 minute to go. If you want to add gear by turning your gears up or by increasing your cadence, your choice. Let's find 80% watts. I'm choosing cadence. 30 seconds to go. Find that 80%. Your cadence is either 80 or slightly over that. Come on. And then our hill steepens again. This is a tricky section. In 5 seconds, we're slowing the legs down to 70, bringing the gear into 80 to 85%. 2, 1. Slow down those legs. Bring back that gear. We're only here for 1:15. A steep pitch. Come on. Get that gear right up. 80 to 85%. Less than a minute to go. Just grind up to the top here. We have a false flat where we are increasing our cadence, keeping our gear at 85%. So you are lowering your gear, bringing up your cadence to find that 85% at 90 to 100 RPM. Take a bit of gear off now, increasing the leg speed. 90 RPM plus. As soon as you're there, bring the gear back up to 85%. Come on. Into the drops. We're staying with this group. More seconds. Then we get a slight reprieve. Come on, just hold on. So worth it. Just keep spinning. Turn those circles. And bringing your gear back to 60%, maintaining this RPM. Take off some watts. High leg speed, 90 to 105 RPM. 2 minutes here, 60%. Whew. That was one tough false flat. Seconds in, should be settling in here. This is not recovery, but it is a chance to catch your breath a little bit. Before we head into our final MAP sprints, we're modifying our workout. We'll have a shorter, easy section so we can go right into those MAP pushes to the finish. So here we are, 95 to 100 RPM, 60%, 45 more seconds. Looking up the road. Thinking of this final section perhaps as a bit of a team time trial into the wind, where your 20-second pulls are super hard and your time at the back is easy. And backing the gear off, 90 seconds. Nice and easy here. Right back to your 30% in that, let's say 90 to 120 watts now. Nice high cadence, up around 100, 105. This is our first interval at our MAPs here. So we're in approximately a group of 5. We're tucked in here away from the wind. When we're at the front, we're fully exposed. So we do have a minute and a half between. Nice and easy. You got your breath back in control. Maybe you grab some more water. This is the awesome part. You can stay with this group. We're gonna finish fast. Getting ready for our first pull in 5 seconds. So we're going up to our MAP in 3, 2, 1. Crank it up. Pushing those pedals. Come on. And 3, 2, 1, back it off. 90 seconds. So now after that first time through, you should know where you need to put your gear for that 20 seconds. It's really jumping hard into that. That's the way this one rolls. You don't always have a chance to set it up. So nice and easy. We're riding this right through the finish, right to the top of the hour. Everyone can cool down after that. Okay, 30 more seconds. You're still riding easy here. Nice high cadence, pretty easy gear in that 30 to 40% range. We do want this contrast of right off to full on. Getting ready in 10 seconds for our second time through our MAP. In 3, 2, 1, bring it up. Go, 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 go. Hold your line. Push those pedals hard. Now we're pushing. And 3, 2, 1, back it off. 2 more to go. Tucking in, out of that wind. Coming around the water there, that wind can be punishing. It's often at the side, but today we've got a headwind. Let's get that recovery here. We want our pulls to be strong and meaningful. Just to get us to the top of the hour, I'm shortening these easy sets in between. Think about it as if we dropped someone. So we're ready for pull number 3. In 3, 2, 1, right up. Let's go. 20 seconds. Pulling through. Should be at or beyond that MAP right now. And 3, 2, 1, back it off. One more time in the back. One more pull, bringing us right to the top of the hour. Find that recovery. You're tucked in behind your little group here. You're the survivors. Breathing, looking up the road. We're pulling through in 10 seconds. For our final 20 seconds, make it your biggest number yet. MAP plus plus. 2, 1. Off we go. Do not leave anything behind. This is your last match. Right through. Come on. And 3, 2, 1. Back it off. That's a wrap. Nice and easy. Recover, recover, recover.